This meeting is being recorded.
All righty. Good afternoon, everybody. Only a handful of people on here right now, and I know normally this kind of grows as time goes on throughout the hour, and some people will be coming in a little late. Hey, Rob, nice to see you, man. It's been a minute or two since I've seen you on a workshop. How are you?
I've been right here.
Just almost in plain sight. Right on, right on. Dan, nice to see you on as well. Georgetta, you've been on pretty much damn near every workshop I think I've run recently, if I'm not mistaken. So that's excellent as well. Cool guys. I'm hoping some more people join. One thing I was thinking to myself and just going back through, I don't just hop on these things and just kind of free flow. Generally speaking, I guess I have occasionally, but normally I build out, what I want to cover, right? And specifically, this being a DaaS sales workshop and me being involved in a lot of sales training, working with prospects. One thing we haven't done on these sessions that I'd like to do a little more going forward, whether we do it today or I just start putting it out there, but I know it's certainly relevant, is some role play and me getting to hear some of you guys in call mock situations, obviously in role play. Also, real situations. There's a few of you, very, very few. You can also send over call recordings for me to audit, and those are good content and good training to use on these sessions as well. I've only had a handful of people do that, but I want to get into the especially when we have 10, 15, 20 people on these things, which happens pretty regularly. This is obviously a very small crowd today. But I want to get in some role play scenario and do that in a couple different ways, right? Either I can do it with somebody. It's better when I can sit back and take notes and have, two of you guys on the other end of this. One of you guys be the business owner, one of you guys be the prospect, and here's some real life scenarios. Because that's really the best feedback I can give, is hearing you guys in real time. And there's a lot of times very similar to call audits. Role play sessions are very great when you have like a sales trainer or a sales pro that can hear things and just pick up on things that you don't see. And hell, that even happens to me still, whether I upload my call or give them to one of my sales mentors, or I listen back to my calls. I'll pick up on stuff that I don't always know I'm doing, or I certainly don't realize I said in real time. And I'm like, oh man, I said that, or I use that cadence there, and just little things I pick up on. So that's something I want to try to merge into these a little more going forward, is a little bit of student client participation in some role play sessions, and I think it'd be very, very valuable. So one thing I am going to go place in the chat here really quickly, guys, is how I start each of these sessions each week, is sharing some resources and stuff with you. And the one that is most specific to my area of expertise and what I cover. And I drop this every week because each week we have somebody on that's new or that hasn't attended a workshop, and just to make sure that everybody gets it. But this is basically an overview of the basic, I shouldn't say basic, of all of the information you would need to build out a data as a service sales process. Now, really quickly, this is applicable or interchangeable to damn near selling any agency service. This one is just built out more specifically to data as a service for obvious reasons. This is Audience Lab, and this is a DaaS program. So again, number one on the screen is just a Google Doc showing you the exact sales process I recommend using, and that I've built out in dozens and dozens of different, digital businesses and high-ticket remote sales teams. Number two is a video tutorial of me going in depth a little more over that document, and anything maybe I didn't put in a short definition that I should have elaborated or people may have questions on is there. Number three is showing you guys the current ads, the email messaging, the short form LinkedIn, the copy, everything that we're using to, land and close deals internally as a data provider and a data, company, right? Number 4 and 5 are the scripts that I put together and I recommend you guys use, or at least use the framework within those scripts on your sales call. So number 4 would be your triage call, your 15 or 20-minute call. Number 5 would be your actual sales call, strategy session, demo call, whatever you call it in your, in your funnel. Number 6 is a copy of the pitch deck that we provide to all of our resellers that you can then go make your own copy, right? If you haven't already. None of this is branded to Audience Lab, guys. It's just case studies and just a quick little succinct pitch deck showing how to pitch identity resolution, how to pitch the reactivation, how to pitch the market audiences, and kind of the low-hanging fruit, right? So again, make your own copy, swap out the first slide with your own company name, image, branding, whatever, and then make a pitch deck to use on your calls. Number 7 is a quick little YouTube tutorial of me diving deeper into the pricing of pixels specifically. I talk a little about the in-market audiences as well. And there's a tool within there that some of you guys I know on the call already have. Some of you guys may not have, but within the description of that video is the link to our pixel calculator. So when you're speaking to the prospect, guys, and we need to know at minimum, generally speaking, and sometimes more, sometimes less. I shouldn't say less, sometimes more than this or more specific, but we need to at least know the average amount of monthly traffic, the average conversion rate of said traffic, and the average order value. And just by knowing that base metrics, we can put those into the pixel calculator, which I show you how to use in that video. And then it kind of spits out a projection of money we're leaving on the table, right? Which is a really good resource when we're assessing, A, if they're a good fit. And it's very good when you can bring it up on the screen and show the business owner, hey, by not installing this pixel, you're leaving about 45K on the table. I can install it on a performance-based scenario, would probably cost you less than $5,000 per month. Would you trade $5,000 based on to make 45 grand solely based on performance, right? And you put together a deal. I mean, who's going to say no to that? So when we have the right client and we put in the right metrics and have all that, that's very, very relevant. Lastly, number 8 on my screen, guys, I added on here about 2 months ago. So if you got this, months ago, number 8 might not have been on there. It is there now. That is just about 20 or so, give or take, maybe 30 of my call recordings over the years and over the recent months, not even over the years. They're as recent as 2025. I jumped back in my team's, sales calendar and was taking calls. So some of the clients that asked to hear my verbiage, some of my calls and how they flow, and there's some good examples that you can draw off of and learn from. I know I already got some feedback from a couple of clients that went through those and said, damn, Ray, those calls really helped me, pivot how I'm running these calls now. I feel much more comfortable. Matter of fact, I had 2 guys last week that I did their one-on-one THO call that our DaaS clients get, already, and I joined our $1,500 month package. So a clear ROI within the first month, which is great. He closed 2 data packages and he kind of pre-sold them or even sold them before we had our one-on-one call. He might not even had access to the platform yet. Another newer client sold 3 smaller deals just to recoup his $1,500. Within 10 days, he's like, hey, Ray, I already made back what I spent to get onto the platform. Now it's going to kind of all profit, and then I can reinvest in like up my data plan. So those were a couple of guys specifically that actually went through my calls, went and used them on their first couple of deals and closed deals pretty easily. So guys, I'm going to go drop the link to this document right here in the chat on Zoom for everybody to have. That is right there right now. So that last comment is this document on my screen. If you guys haven't had it, there you go. Open it, start it, save it, whatever, and I drop that every week. So we'll start with that, and then I'm going to go over a couple other things. Actually, I'll take a break from going over other things in a minute. But one thing that translates right off of this document to what I was talking about, specifically with number 3, but really everything I did here, guys, this document is built from the framework of, hey, I helped build this audience lab team from square one the day we launched. Some of you guys on the call that have been around a while know that. Rob specifically, I don't know if there's anybody that's been around as long as you, Rob, on the call here today. But I was our first sales rep and I helped build this team. So number one, everything that we've gone through in this process and optimized and trial and failure, like you guys aren't seeing any of the failure. You're just seeing what works here on the screen. From me and Jesse being our sole sales reps to building a full team underneath us that's closing high ticket deals, that's making very good money for themselves and hitting KPIs and getting results on a month in and month out basis, right? So I was talking about like number 3, right? Seeing some of our ads, our messaging, our email, our copy, our posts, the things that are getting us results in the 4 channels of acquisition that I would say we really do. For any of you guys that aren't familiar, the 4 things we do internally within all our businesses, I do this in PDocs, I do this in Sales Lab, this is what we do in Audience Lab. We use paid ads, we use mutually beneficial partnerships, we use cold email, and we use organic outreach and social media, primarily for this brand on Facebook and LinkedIn, but we've used all different channels for different, offers, brands, what have you. And that would really apply what I say when it comes to social media to what platform are you normally on a lot as a user every day, and what platform do you already have a following and are you active? Because that's probably where you should start if people are ever wondering. They're always like, what platform? It doesn't really depend on much outside of what you have for pre-existing factors. You can make any platform work. there's just some that are better. If we're straight B2B going after businesses, we all know LinkedIn's probably a stronger platform. If I'm more, I would say instant gratification, low ticket, physical products, probably IG and TikTok are better platforms for those type of things. So yeah, each platform has its strengths. But as a creator and trying to build brand recognition on social media and ultimately lead to organic sales, as I mentioned, our fourth outlet avenue, you want to operate on the platform you're already on regularly. You already have a profile and a following, and that's usually the best starting point, right? A lot of people ask me that question a lot. That's the answer I would give. So what ties right into the results, as I was talking about, based off all our messaging, our ads, would be our results. So I like to share those with you. Always very transparent, especially with our clients that are in the platform. So guys, we're running end of day reports, end of week reports, and I'm going to show you some other metrics before I dive in, answer some questions, check the chat, and dive into a little bit of a lesson today. But you can see April 27th, this is our call book channel. So this particular day, we ran about $1,550 in ad spend. That put us up to, roughly 40K for the month. Our cost per appointment on, April 27th metrics alone was just under $100. And you can see we booked 17 calls that day, 14 from the ads, 3 from the nurture email reactivation sequence that we run. So that's the metrics within that we're seeing on a regular basis from that amount of ad spend and the metrics we're hitting, right? And then let's look where that leads to in terms of closed deals, cash collected, stuff like that. So end of week, I'm going to take the last business day that ended last week. That's the last one. All I have was 1 day's, metrics for this week. Just wasn't a lot to show here based off 1 day. Actually, there's a lot of sales coming in today, but I don't have the metrics yet. So anyway, at end of week last week, up through 25 days in April, this was the daily amount of sales from the team, daily amount of MRR added. Again, and this is all new revenue. This has nothing to do with the existing, all of you guys on this call and all of our existing users and what they already pay us per month. This is just new revenue added to the platform from our sales team based off of the avenues I mentioned, but primarily right now, ads and our reactivation nurture sequence, as you saw. Our organic stuff is tracked a little different and sent through a different funnel, so it wouldn't show there. But that we don't get consistently 17 a day the same way we do, which is why we spend, $1,300 a day or whatever. As you'll see for the month through 25 days, 78,000 collected and about 67,000 in new MRR added to the platform. So based off the ads, the messaging, and the outreach channels or avenues that we use, and not that I'm recommending or saying you guys should be using all 4 of those, but you should be using at minimum 2 channels. And again, those are the 4 that work the best for us. And what we've always done within all of our companies and all our businesses, guys, is number one, what we get good at, right? What we can perfect, I would like to say, or at least be profitable at. Then we make sure it's replicable in other niches and industries. And then we make sure it's scalable behind ad spend and multiple channels. And then we teach that acquisition avenue or channel, right? So the 4 that I mentioned is what we do, what we teach, what we, if I don't do it well and I don't have these especially when offers solely rely on paid, and we had our ad manager ad account go down, it screwed up all the predictability, especially once you start to have a team and you're feeding reps. Now, if you're not feeding your reps consistently with booked appointment on their calendar, you're not going to keep A-player talent in your ecosystem very long. I mean, that's just a fact, right? Guys are going to go where they have consistent opportunity and a chance to make their on-track earnings. What they're looking for is reps. So that's why I never like to be solely reliant on one channel. We've had time where either just ad stuff got out of whack, we creative fatigue, ad manager got flagged, whatever, where our paid was either producing, not basically nothing or minimal of what we would expect. And we knew we could rely on other partnerships to drive an appointment. I could ramp up my organic outreach. We could, double up on our email outreach. We have other avenues and other things that we know how to do to compensate for that. So again, that's just kind of a personal suggestion. I just wanted to check the chat real quick to see if there was any questions or anything going on yet. Just looking, okay, just going to drive, just listening, got it. Hey, Ray, can you drop the link to the seller's resources? Yep, you see that right below, Brett. Sorry, I like to explain it, and then I see your comment. I usually like to explain it real quick before I drop it, just so everybody can follow along. Yeah, I want to also cover, Carrie, I have a question. When you're taking questions on cold email campaigns I have running, so I do have a question when you're, okay, I got what you're saying. Yeah, I'll swing back to you on that. I might actually cover that a little, but I'll swing back to you on that question specifically. Perfect. Cool. So there's one or two other things I wanted to share with you guys real quick, and then I'll kick it to everybody for questions, and I'll see you great when I dive into questions. If you guys have any questions, anything revolving around selling the data, marketing the data, getting your first deal, fastest path to cash, things along those lines, either type your question or just type a one in the chat, and I will either call on you or address your question, whatever you're more comfortable with. I'd rather you type a one and tell you, but if you just want to type and you're in a position where you're muted or you can't talk or whatever, type it in the chat. I will address it regardless. Some of you guys may have seen this, some of you guys not. And again, I always like to show you guys when we're making updates internally. Now, obviously, in the platform, there's been a lot of changes and a lot of bumps in the last few weeks with this V3 upgrade. A lot of that is ironed out. Hopefully, you guys have that ironed out. If you don't and you're still having tech issues, attend office hours immediately, and there's 2 pinned posts within the school communities with tutorials from either Adam or Jaden going over the quick little troubleshooting. But everything in V3 is, well, I can't say everything, but a majority of things, and the audience builders are working. The data is populating. So if you're still having trouble with those, attend office hours, check the couple pinned posts within school or the school posts where we're addressing these. And there's a couple of videos to run through if you guys are still having trouble with that. Why I talked about that is anytime we're really upgrading the platform, we're launching new features, we're making, the accuracy better, really beefing up the platform. We're also going to be making new resources to highlight some of that stuff and highlight, the keys to what we offer. So this is one of the newest resources that we probably just finalized, I want to say within the last 7 to 10 days, guys. Maybe a little longer than that. We've been tweaking it. I think we did finalize it within the last 7 to 10 days. But now this is kind of, just so you guys know where this falls in our flow. If it's cold traffic and we're sending ads and someone clicked on it, this would be the first resource they would receive in the confirmation email, the confirmation SMS, and basically the VSL that we would now have implemented into our paid ad booking funnel. That's where that would kind of fall. There's also times I would use this resource and send it in social media, DM, organic traffic, things like that. It's just where you're using it and what channel might be a little different on exactly where you send it. But basically, this is for us, I would say your low sophistication level to awareness of our brand to educate really well and build authority and build up that whole know, like, trust factor. This is kind of the primary resource. Do we have all kinds of little one-offs that we can send people, or we can film people or shoot a quick Loom or have other workshops on? Hell yeah, that might be applicable. But general to a majority of the audience, this is kind of our basic resource. So I just want to show you guys what we have. I'm also going to drop this down in the chat momentarily so you guys can see this. I just wanted to go over it first. But basically, you guys can see on the screen, Audience Lab Data as a Service Program. Adam goes on to write kind of the headline. There will be about $452 billion spent on activating data in 2025. Meanwhile, there's a lot of you agencies out there struggling to close $500 a month deals. Why? Right? And they're selling the wrong thing. We go through all and kind of make them problem aware within this section. And again, I'm going to drop this so you guys can go through it at your own time. If you're watching on YouTube or the replay and I'm going too fast, just pause it and read what's on the screen. I don't want to read this whole thing like I'm a VSL freaking webinar guy, but I'm showing you guys the structure of what we've designed, and then you guys can go through it on your own time and kind of break it down. What we go through is the 4 main aspects on what makes this work and how our clients actually get results within the platform. So number 1, they need to license our technology. Great little newer 12-minute tutorial that Adam made showing you how you license access to our technology. Now, you guys might not do this exactly the same. You probably wouldn't, because you're not Audience Lab yourself, and you're not necessarily white labeling the data, but you're going to see how we go in and show people the value of the pre-made audiences. You would want to make something similar to that. You would just position it a little different than us. You guys, a lot of you guys are going to individual brands, advertisers, existing companies and selling them data, whereas we're going to more agencies that are reselling it. So there's a little difference between how we position it, but the value in here and going through this video again on your own time would probably be pretty relevant, that you guys can now go in and remake this with your own face on the screen instead of Adam's face and position it how you would like, right? But we basically show them, the 200 plus buying signals, the 270 million people, how we have the B2B and the B2C graph and the super pixel. We talk about the low hanging fruit and what gets the quick wins for most of our clients. Then we show them the power of learning from others. You guys that are all on this call are already on the platform. You already have access to this training, and you see some of the support and the intercommunication within school and how it helps to hear and see what some of the other people are doing, right? I always say to people, it's great to learn from a company like Audience Lab that's giving you our platform and saying, here's the best way to go resell it. But at the same time, it's really good to learn from people in the trenches doing it more at the DaaS agency level than more at the data wholesale level like Audience Lab is. So guys like Philip on our team, guys that come in and crush it, guys that come back and teach some of our most impactful workshops. There's Kenton, there's Emmett, there's Landon, on and on and on. Learn from those people and what they've had success with. And if that business model or that approach jives with your business model or what your objective, right? Utilize that stuff. So, we show people how they can learn from others doing it. We show them how to land bigger clients by having more leverage. I mean, the number one thing that helps us and helps you guys is how to hit a saturated market, whether it's you guys as agency owners, right? Whatever you're doing, you guys all probably told me before you got into this that you were running an SEO agency, a Facebook ad agency, whatever it was, and you were running into a lot of market saturation. Hold on one second. Pick up where I left off. Market saturation, right? And your clients are kind of thinking the same thing, right? I'm getting a lot of crappy leads. It's especially with like home services and stuff, a lot of shared leads, right? The bullshit ones you get off Angie's List or Home Advisor. Whereas your leverage is exclusivity, exclusive leads, an in-market custom audience that you can't get by just going data scraping or just by generating, a list of solely in-market people. Like you need to be able to layer it beyond that and get people within your parameters and the ways we can lay out audiences. So that's more how you guys portray it. Here, the way we portray it to our ideal client agencies is exactly true. Land bigger clients that have more leverage by having a product that not everybody else can have, something you can actually monetize and something you can stand out from the other Facebook ads and SEO and copywriting agencies, because most of your competitors can't also offer data as a service. And again, then we talk about the 4 ways that are most likely for you guys to go work with them. So of course, we show some results on the screen. Hey, Rob, there's your smiling face. You haven't ate a day, buddy. You'll see Philip, who teaches some of our workshops. So anyway, you guys might be familiar with or go through some of these results. But what we're showing you guys and what we really broke down through all of our best DaaS agencies, all those guys I mentioned, Rob, who's got great results, Philip, who's now a brand ambassador and works with us on the team, the Landons, the Emmets, the Kentons, all those guys kind of fell into one of these 4 buckets, guys. They built a data agency based around some other factors, generally speaking, and what they really wanted to do. Like, I would say first off, let's break into 2 buckets, guys, and then we'll dice it down to these 4. But within 2 buckets, do I just want to be a data agency that sells it back to brands, and I want to be hands off? I don't want to do the reactivation, the marketing. Maybe that's not already your skill set. Maybe you don't already have an agency doing that. Maybe you want to be very minimal fulfillment and high margin, right? And if that's what you're looking for, you want to go more the consultant route. Number 1, it's a mix of number 1 and 3, but primarily number 1. It's the minimal amount of really skill set and work you need, but you have to identify a higher sophistication, more established business model. And business is an ideal avatar to sell to, right? If you want to make sure that they can reactivate the data. The number 1 question I'm always asking prospects to really figure out what they need to get results is, hey, Bob, if I'm to give you this list of 50,000 people, whatever the number is, 5,000, doesn't matter. Do you know how to weaponize and monetize it? And if we're working with clients where the answer is no, we're not going to be a hands-off agency and sell to those brands and have them stay on. They're not going to get results. You need to sell data to people that know what to do with it, know how to weaponize it and monetize it, or else you have to go more of the full stack and more the integrator route and actually be able to do the marketing for them, or outsource it and charge a premium and make a buck on the side, whatever it is. So that's number 1 and 2 that I like to decipher. Do I want to just sell it and have people get results and buy the data and come back? Then I want to work with guys that have an internal marketing department, that have a media buyer, that have an advertiser. If they have that stuff in-house, I can sell them the data. They know what they have to do with it. If I'm working with Bob's Roofing and it's a 3-man organization and his cousin runs their social media department, they probably aren't going to know what to do with a big list of data and how to monetize it and weaponize it. So those are the first couple things I think about. And
I don't
then
know how
within
to
that, breaking it down
weaponize
to
it
these
and not do
four
anything
things.
with it.
What I'd like to show you guys here,
Uh,
hold on, I'm getting feedback somewhere. Somebody unmuted and like has it on speaker or something. There we go. I found it. Okay, cool. Got it. And then here's those 4 things broken down further. So again, guys, momentarily, I'm spending more time on this page than I thought, but that's okay. Momentarily, I'm going to drop this whole link down in the chat here below in Zoom. But this kind of shows you on average what you can charge to meet each one of these 4, the skill sets needed, the time commitment that you need to put in terms of fulfillment. I would say minimum time commitment. It could always be more, but if you can at least give 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours just to the fulfillment side of things, that's the type of agency you probably want to be running. If you want to be charging these amounts, that's probably the type of agency you should be running. Again, so on and so forth. There's always going to be outliers to those pricing. But on average, speaking with lots and lots of our DaaS clients and going back through and breaking it down into these 4 categories, on average, this is what they're charging, right? The type of companies and who they're looking to work with, the fulfillment models, Adam broke those down in a very, very simple manner there. So again, guys, go back and take a look through this if you guys haven't already seen this or haven't thought about some of the things I'm talking about today, because those are things we do in our one-on-one call usually when I'm helping you guys map out kind of your fastest path to cash. And we do that in a one-on-one scenario. But most of you guys that have had those calls with me will remember we talked a bit about these things. Are we working with more established brands or not? Are we just selling data? Or are we doing more of a full stack and embedding our existing expertise and agency? Are we looking for more retainer, more performance, a mix? And we talk about all those things and then how to attack and go kind of build those out, right? So again, and then we show examples, of course, as any VSL resource would do, where we're using this in our funnel, and we show some of these different agencies. So for instance, this guy went into the DaaS consultant type, generated about a $22 million pipeline of B2B leads for MedTech. And then we break down what we were talking about before, how they use this, who they sold it to, breaking down the flow state of the agency that they built out, right? Breaking down Murray, who's been on quite a few of these. I don't know if I see him here today, but Murray's pretty active. 1,400 in his first week. He went more the consultant type. What did he do to do that, right? So we try to show you examples of all of those within here. And this is a resource that we're now using, again, in our funnel and our process to educate and to build up that authority and to really show people the how behind it, right? Because that's everyone's question. Okay, a DaaS agency model sounds good. What the hell is that and how does it work? So we break it down in kind of 4 steps. Of course, we pump up the page with some great valuable videos and tutorials and case studies and what's required here. Really quickly, I'm going to go copy this link and drop it in the chat so you guys can all look at this on your own time. Here we go. Oh, because I did it out of this URL, it's gonna whatever. It's gonna drop the long version of the link. I have a shortened version somewhere. It doesn't matter. You guys are just gonna click on it or whatever. It's not the pretty link, but and that's the one I just went over on the page. So last thing I'm gonna go over before I go back to kind of the comments here in the chat and a Q&A is something I talk about a lot when I get on a call with a DaaS client. We talk about your fastest path to cash. You guys who watch the tutorial, who have onboarded into the platform as DaaS, who've been sent over the onboarding resources to book their one-on-one call with me, this tutorial comes to you when you should be booking that call. I'm not sure how many of you guys have actually watched it or not. It's called the THO, Trojan Horse Offer tutorial. And where I spend a majority of time on that tutorial is on this particular document. Just breaking it down, I actually have an updated one that shouldn't go beyond number 3. There's some outdated stuff, so next time I'll bring up the updated one, but I'm only going to cover number 1, 2, and 3. But this is what I show our newer DaaS clients, and specifically in that tutorial where I'm talking about this, guys, is this is the low-hanging fruit. About 80% of our DaaS agencies, the first few clients they sign, the first 5, 10, 15, 20K they make, it's almost always off of this basic model right here that I'm about to go over. So number 1 on the list, POC, stands for proof of concept, a proof of concept component or structure, right? Model. The only reason it's number 1, and I like to say I kind of use this as my downsell when I pitch, I'll offer a proof of concept offer or performance-based compensation or relationship with somebody in a couple different ways. Number one, if they're really hesitant or really apprehensive, once I drop price, and that's really the only hurdle. So I know it's going to be a great fit. I know we're going to deliver great results, and I know if I charge on performance, I can probably make as much or more than I would make off whatever I'm quoting them, and they're hesitant. I would offer a proof of concept campaign and then come back to them after 7, 14, 30 days max. I usually don't like to make my proof of concept campaigns longer than 2 weeks personally. But that's where I would use it, or I would use it where I know it's going to be a home run, and I actually want to show them how much data I can bring back before I quote price. So I might see they're getting 100,000 hits on their website, and their average order value is $1,000. That is a home run waiting to happen. I just want to slap the pixel on there and show them after 2 weeks how many identities we've resolved, and then go back and pitch price, because it's going to be a lot more leverage in my, in my court, for lack of a better phrase, at that point. So again, proof of concept is listed here first, because sometimes it's the easiest, and it's kind of like my fallback, what I go to and maybe offer to somebody. Number one, when I think it's a home run, or number two, when they kind of balk at price. And that's the only thing stopping us from moving forward. When I really got on a sales call and boiled it down to the only objection being finances, and if I can make it make sense financially, or if I can show them some results and then talk about finances, they would still move forward. And they're like, yeah, that's the only thing stopping us, is I want to see results first, or I just don't have the capital available, but I got to switch some stuff around. I'll have it available, in 10 days. When I get in those conversations, I'll start building their audiences. I'll start slapping the pixel on whatever the type of performance campaign. And again, guys, everybody remember, the objective of a proof of concept campaign isn't to make them say, okay, I'll buy. It's just to make them say, okay, this data is legit. I can see a clear path to how to get an ROI. So maybe they don't say that on a sales call before we've really shown them, in their own funnel, or from their own web traffic, or within their own niche. Maybe the audience we bring up is something that doesn't resonate to them, and they don't, make the correlation that it'll work for them. Whatever. I just want to build a proof of concept campaign. Say, hey, Bob, give me 2 weeks. Let me slap the pixel on. Let me go build you an audience. And then once I show you what we have, you tell me if you think it's legit. If so, we can talk price at that point. Is that fair? Very often, even if they were already hesitant at a certain price point, they're going to say, totally, Ray, that's fair. Let's do that, right? And we'll talk again in 2 weeks. So that's kind of how I use this. Now, great proof of concept campaigns. Could be for the low-hanging fruit, just a enrichment, right? I might talk to a guy that's running no ad spend, that doesn't have a website getting a lot of traffic, right? There's not a lot of things I can do, but maybe he has an email list of, say, 10,000 that he's accrued over the last year. I might just offer an enrichment once I show him, hey, we've resolved the cell phone number and the LinkedIn profile of, whatever. What I say the number was 10,000. Let's say of 4,000 people that were on your email list. Would you like to buy this back per lead, and we can hit them in an email or an SMS and a LinkedIn campaign? Almost by nature, looking at the numbers, you only get about a 15% open rate on email. But what I've noticed is in LinkedIn, you get about a 66% open rate. With SMS, you get about an 83% open rate. So just by, again, enriching this data and hitting them in those other avenues, you're almost guaranteed, Mr. Bob, the business owner, to get more eyeballs on your message, on your offer, right? So that could be a quick little enrichment. I'm sorry, a quick little proof of concept, or that might be what I pitch that guy. I use enrichment personally and sell it to individual brands when they're kind of at the entry level stage, and all they really have is a list. Like I said, they don't have ad spend, they don't have a social media following, they don't have, some of those other things that I mentioned, an audience or a landing page or a website getting a lot of traffic, right? Now, ideally, a majority of our campaigns, and again, whether it's proof of concept or now going down to number 2 and 3, where we're actually selling the stuff, it's almost always going to be through proof of finding audience, right? And we're almost always going to do that through one of 2 ways. We're either going to do that through, in-market audiences, through building lists, or through pixel resolutions. And again, pixel resolutions when it makes sense. Ideally, guys, there's no concrete formula, but this is what I look for in terms of prerequisites for a pixel to make sense. On average, there's always subtle variations. So we want to know the average traffic, the conversion rate on the website, and the average order value. But generally speaking, I'm looking for web traffic of 10,000 plus per month, where the average order value is around $200 or more. Higher ticket prices, I could probably get away with less traffic, and vice versa. So it's kind of a spectrum a little bit based on some of those things I talk about. But at minimum, if I have a website owner with about 10,000 hits that's charging a minimum of $200 per average order value, I know it's going to make sense when I resolve the traffic, because generally speaking, off 10,000 hits to a website, they're going to have about 9,500 bounce visitors. we're going to resolve somewhere around even the low end, say around 3,000. If I'm to give that business owner the name, email, phone number, and ad profile to retarget them in retargeting ads of over 3,000 people that have already visited his landing page or website, he's guaranteed to close a few deals there. And again, so you can kind of use some of those. But if I'm talking to a business owner that's got 800 hits to his website, right, 800 people a month, and he's selling a $200 product, it's not going to make sense to resolve 200 people to send back to him, 300 people, whatever, right? So those are some of the things I'm looking for. But again, almost all the people we go to work with right off the bat, we're going to be using number two. Now, what we need to decide internally, going back to what I said earlier in those kind of two buckets, is am I going to do just the data upsell, or am I going to do the reactivation as well? And again, guys, we're not reinventing the wheel with how we reactivate the data, right? I told you how we do it internally. I showed you our graphics, our examples, our ad spend, our call booking, our closed deals, our messaging, our ad, copy, like everything. But what we're doing internally and what almost all of our clients are doing, as you guys know, we reactivate via email, via SMS, via phone calls, via managing ad spend, and via pixel management where applicable, right? Obviously, if we have a business owner which didn't get enough traffic or we didn't slap the pixel on, we're not going to do pixel management, but where applicable. And so again, you shouldn't overthink what we're selling. Early on, it's almost always audiences and the identity resolution. And then if we're doing reactivation, and again, even if we're not doing the reactivation, I want to know my business owners that I'm selling it to are doing this. Hey, Bob, if I'm to give you the data, how's your team going to reactivate it? Well, Ray, we're going to loop it into our retargeting Facebook and Google ads, and we're going to run email campaigns. Awesome, right? I pretty much know that's probably going to be a winner as long as they have good copy and good creative and it's hitting their inbox. That should do all right, right? But if they come back saying, well, Ray, I'm going to cold call every number to sell a $100 visible product, like that's stupid. That's not going to make a lot of sense. He's probably not going to make an ROI doing that, I would say. So I'm always kind of asking, how are you guys going to reactivate it? And when you're speaking with an established company, they're going to tell you a way that makes sense, right? Or I'm going to make them a loom when I give them the data, especially when I onboard a new client. Hey, Mr. Customer, here's your first list. Looking forward to working with you longer and producing more. Hey, this is how my clients have got the best ROI with activating it. Number one is looping this into social media and Facebook ads. That's the number one ROI and how we can get it in front of the most people. Number two, I recommend looping it into some cold email sequences and using some software like this, right? Number three, SMS. And just make them a little loom video of how you recommend going and activating this. That always just gives people a better chance of going and implementing it properly. Not to say they won't, but anytime we can make an extra step and just educate them and give them a 1, 2, 3, this is what I would do to monetize and make a return, that's going the extra step. Or if we're not just selling it to them and we're doing the reactivation, you need to know internally as an agency, what is your skill set or expertise? And I always recommend, hey, Mr. Client, do you have some ad spend? Cool, let me go run ads for you. If you guys don't have the acumen or the wherewithal to run ads, but your clients need you to, reach out to Phil on our team. Phil has a program where he can do your ad management for a small cost, which of course you would put on your customer. You wouldn't pay yourself. You don't have to do it in pocket. So Phil helps people with that kind of stuff as well. Attend his workshop, DM him, look him up on Facebook, shoot him a message, whatever. That's also another option for you guys if you want to kind of outsource the ad stuff, but still make sure it's getting done from people that are, proficient at using data in their ad campaigns, right? And in their ad manager. So that's some of the stuff I wanted to cover. Let me go back to the chat and see if there was any specific questions. I see a couple ones in the chat, so I will call on all of you guys momentarily.
Hey Ray, where is that the Trojan Horse Offer document? It's not on that Google sheet.
Yeah, give me 1 minute. Let me go grab the link of the one that doesn't have the useless information. I'll go drop it here. This one has some outdated stuff that I don't recommend using anymore, so let me go find you the other one. Give me 1 minute. Carrie, can you unmute real quick? You had the first question and just ask me again and elaborate, please.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could help me with my cold email campaigns. Because I still haven't been able to, I basically been sucking trying to sell this stuff. So I'm not even getting a positive reply. So I'm trying to figure out my angle or whatnot. So for example, I have one campaign where I sent 1,500 emails to the B2B pre-made audience of email lists, or they're looking for mailing lists. So I emailed them saying, hey, if you're looking for an email list, why not use search intent email lists? And that got crickets. Then I also tried doing a pre-made to people that are searching for retargeting. And I emailed them and said, hey, if you're retargeting, why not, instead of retargeting with just ads, want to hit them with email and as well. And that got, do you want a sample list? And both those campaigns are like flopping. I sent like 3,000 emails and I've gotten like 0 positive replies. So do you have any suggestions on different angles I could, or like, what would you do to, like, maybe I'm tackling this at a wrong angle or something like that. So I'm just having like,
again, email outreach, what did you say? You said that about 3,000 of a couple different angles, basically?
yeah, total about 1,500 each. So obviously, I could wait another week and see what happens.
I was going to say that's right at about the point where I'd like to start to do some feedback and optimization and diving into stuff. It's hard to judge a campaign on, say, I would say less than 2,000 emails specifically, but probably even less than 3. Really depends on how big your bandwidth is and how many you plan on doing. No matter what, though, what have you had for feedback so far? Just on, are you seeing any feedback in your side and in your metrics in terms of deliverability, open rates? Do you have any metrics on that? Because I mean, when I'm looking at email, number one, I'm always reverse engineering. And is the open line, even the subject line, getting eyeballs and getting opens? Because if not, I don't want to readjust the body too much if I know a lot of people haven't even seen that yet, right? So I'm always looking over those things first.
Yeah, I don't have open tracking on because apparently that hurts deliverability. So I'm just relying on reply rates.
It can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it can. I still do it because I think it's really, really valuable to know how many are getting open before I'm just optimizing a campaign. I don't want to say I sent out 10,000, I've got no results if I don't know if any of them actually got eyeballs on them, because maybe the only thing I need to tweak is a subject line and nothing else right off the bat. But I went back without the full data and changed everything thinking I'm getting no results. So,
okay. So basically, I'm hearing wait for more data to come in to see if it's good or not. But do you think these two sample niches, they make sense, right? Using the pre-made for the retargeting, telling about that, and then using the pre-made for email, or there's a kind of rough.
I mean, I think they can make sense. Rob, you just typed something in the chat. I'd love you to mention it because you can speak to it a little more.
So pre-made for social ads, perfect. Pre-made for cold email. You have to remember how the pre-made audiences work, right? Using the IAB model. So there can be hundreds of descriptors on both ends, and even the core keyword can change. So it might be a mailing list for pre-made, but there could be 300 different keywords. So it's not resonating. So if I'm going to do a cold email campaign, I'm typically using a very targeted keyword list. So if I'm going after, lead generation list, cold, email list, databases for sales or something like that, I'm going to go very specific to that, and then I'm going to have that keyword or that search term in my email, in my subject line. It's going to be hammered over it because, again, when you look at ads, right, for the social stuff for on Facebook or Meta or LinkedIn, you're going after category. When you're going cold email, you're trying to smack them in the face and get them to respond, right? So if it doesn't resonate, they're not gonna respond. And then there's a whole other piece behind what's your cold email setup look like, how many words are you using links, are you using unsubscribe links, what's your mail score? Like, it's just, cold email's hard, man.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't have any ad experience really. So like cold email is like my only thing I'm somewhat skilled at. So, all right, cool. So what I'm hearing is like some targeting. I need to do better keyword targeting than using a broad pre-made.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. In addition, I don't know if you're doing that. I'd recommend doing a combination. If you're not skilled with that, or you're not confident, or you're not ready to start running ads for your own outreach, I would say in addition to cold email, at least be doing some type of social media, LinkedIn outreach in addition to that. I would probably be doing a mix of the two, to be honest with you. But I've just seen a lot of people get better results early on in your spot, Carrie, when they're doing a mix of email outreach and LinkedIn outreach to get their own clients and their own deals in.
Like LinkedIn connection requests and DMing.
Correct. Yep. I have
and look at some of the
pretty good
tools
outline there. Also, I just dropped that in the chat. But yeah, if you can send me over and I can actually go through and just comb through it on my own time and then make you a quick little loom, I can give you some more immediate and better feedback. I can either do that later today or tomorrow. If you just send me over some of the copy you're using, I'd like to see it and break it down.
Thanks, I appreciate it. When you say DM, are you referring to school? Or,
yeah, school or whatever. School, email me. I don't know if we're connected on Facebook, wherever, any platform, I'll get it.
Very cool. I'll send you an email.
DM, I check my DMs more than email. That's why I said DM me. I'm just more active.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. Thanks.
Cool. That's the best way I can give you the feedback, is just seeing what's there. I was working with somebody on this last week. I've tested and I've run a lot of email copy and a lot of different offers. One thing that's always worked for me, like throughout multiple niches and for multiple years, is just like proclamation emails that are meant to disarm the reader, and it could be nothing to do with your actual copy or your objective. Right? Things like "read this or die" with a skull and crossbones, toxic, just weird, obscure ones. I get mad open rates, and then I get them to actually get their eyeballs on my copy. So I've split tested, and I still do things like that, and those still get great opens. Especially if I'm doing just short form emails where it's nothing where I'm trying to get them to read a story or get them into a newsletter. It's just I get them to open it, and then, "Hey man, you're not dead. You opened it, ha ha ha," right? Or make a little joke about my subject line, and then. But if you're not using data, you might be dying in the advertising world. I guarantee you, your competitor, and I'll insert the category king, is using first market intent-driven data, right? So that might be my opener. And then a quick little, what I like to do in my email copy, reaching out to the individual brands or customers themselves, is kind of say something I already know and then drop a little bit of a knowledge gap. So, "Hey, Carrie, you probably think you can't compete with XYZ company," right? Insert category king, because of their ad budget and how much they can spend to acquire a customer. What you don't know is the real hidden secret is actually they're using in-market, intent-driven first-party data in their ad campaigns. So although you may not ever be able to compete with Walmart's budget, you can compete with the same and have the same playing field at the level of data, and I can get your cost per acquisition around the same price. Right, so now I'm showing them something they already knew, right? Costco's using data, and they're the big brand, or Walmart, or whoever the fuck I'm calling out, is the big brand, and I can never compete with them. But yeah, you're right, Carrie. I always thought it was because of the ad budget. I didn't know I could get access to the same data they're using and actually compete. So that might be something I mix in an email and see what it gets for results. Those are just some ideas popping through my head that I've had success with. But when I break down your copy, I can give you a little more relevant for what you're doing or tweaks I would make on those particular campaigns. But hopefully that gets your brain going a little in a couple different directions,
Yeah, no, it definitely helps. Thanks.
Cool. Dan, you had typed the one in the chat a while back. Do you have a question, something you'd like to speak on?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of sales opportunities I wanted to get your feedback on, and then some advice on hiring sales. I've got a 3D drafting and design company I'm meeting with in person on Monday. And so they're interested in targeting not just people searching for drafting and design, but they want to target other businesses, home builders that would refer to them. So they want to hit their best referral audiences. So basically the advice I'm looking for is best way to price and sell that is whether that's per list or doing a rev share on that one, because those are some big ongoing deals that could generate some long-term, and he makes a really good profit margin on these things that he has already said he's open to rev share.
I would still probably do per list, at least till you know what you're going to start to get out of there. I don't know. I know you're still relatively newer into the program, Dan. I don't know how many deals you already have or what you've seen already working with clients, but maybe until you know what to expect in terms of, do you have a base expectation? You said they do well. So do you have a base expectation, at least, of what rev share might look like in this scenario for me to have a little more context?
No, I won't get that information until this meeting coming up.
Especially without knowing that, I would gear more toward per list, at least to start. And you might position it as, "Hey, so this is what I recommend, right? A X amount setup fee, maybe $1,000. I charge you X amount per list." Again, I would start at no less than 500. I don't know the niche industry average order value. You might want to pitch more than that per list. And then after a month, let's review what we see, and maybe we can work on some type of performance deal going forward. Right. So,
well, yeah, it would be a minimum plus performance or something like that.
But I might build the expectations of the first month or two. Let's do this, just base pricing, and then we'll reassess after 30 or 60 days and sit down and see what makes sense and maybe go on more of a performance basis. That's probably how I would handle that one.
Gotcha. And then I've got my roofing, one of my biggest roofing clients. We're going to be using him as a test subject. He wants 3 different lists, one for roofing, one for siding, and one for windows. Is that possible and relevant? And then best ways to take advantage of them as a positive client. So as we go forward, I know I'm going to do a video testimonial from him on these, because he's got his sales staff they're going to take this data and run with it. So, where should I position them, and should I get multiples, or should be one testimonial be good for now to start with?
Yeah, I don't know if the multiple or one testimonial really makes a big difference, but what your first aspect of that question is like separate services, roofing, windows, siding. Yes, you would want to generate separate audiences. You could generate a mass one and run like a cold campaign and then drop them into one of those buckets, but that wouldn't make as much sense as getting 3 more particular or precise audiences to each service or each keyword or each level of importance. So yeah, I would position it as getting multiple audiences for each of his services.
And they only get about 4,000 hits a month on their website, so that wouldn't be worth using the pixel then, right?
What's his average job value?
$20,000.
Yeah, it'd be worth it. It'd still be worth it.
No.
Yeah, if they're above 20K, I've had success with as little as 2,000 visitors per month. If the average order value is over 20K, it still makes sense. And that you could do on a performance basis, just like this, Dan. Hey, you're getting about, what'd you say it was 4,000 here? Hey, you're getting about 4,000 hits to your website. What I want to do is slap the pixel on. It's going to resolve the identity of your bounce visitors to the tune of 30 to 60%. Let's say it's 30%. That's about 1,200 people in this case. Then we loop them into a retargeting campaign. And only when they pre-qualify and book into your calendar, in this case, at those, I would charge them $300 to $400 per book call. You could probably get a 5 or 6K a month account just doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, as far as pricing goes, that would be for future clients. For him, he's already paying us $4,000 a month. So
whatever. I'm just saying,
I'm moving budget around to cover him. But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
But I would do the pixel more on a performance basis, because if I was just going to sell it to him on retainer, I mean, I'd probably only charge him $1,500. I could slap it on there in performance, charge him per quality book call I generate, and it'd probably turn into more of a $4,000 to $6,000 account per month based on that volume.
Perfect. And then I'm looking to hire phone sales. So we're looking for an appointment setter that then I close. So they will book maybe like 2 appointments a week through all the calls, and then just kind of going through a list. Is that kind of what you're doing, or a better way to do that?
No, I mean, that's a fine way to do that. I mean, if that's your kind of your flow and what you're trying to accomplish, an appointment setter would probably make sense.
It's not our normal flow is really more hands-on, and we're referral based, and we do get leads through our ads and stuff like that. So it's not we never do much cold calling. That's pretty rare. It's more of our marketing services generate leads. So this is our first foray into cold calling.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if it's your first foray into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's why I've been listening to a lot of your calls, because I know you guys do you talk about you're doing more phone sales than what we're doing. So I'm trying to absorb more of that, get my mind wrapped around that.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, those are, yeah. Of what Alex typed in, you might want, an SDR maybe over an appointment setter, just a full service development rep, a sales development rep that can represent and also service the customer. It's a little more extensive than an appointment setter who wouldn't go all the way through, right? I mean, that might be what you want if you're going to eliminate yourself from the sales at some point too.
Right. Okay, I get you.
Cool. Brent, you had a question real quick?
Yeah, my friend, you covered it already. I was going to ask what your opinion was on how to get started, and you did a really good job covering that. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Great. I'm glad I did. Excellent. Yeah, so I ended up dropping all the documents that I covered as well. I dropped the seller resources. I dropped the thing to our new VSL, or what we call our Quill 3.0 page. And I dropped the link to the Trojan Horse Offer template here in the chat for anybody that needed it. Yeah, guys, I got another call in 5 minutes that I got to do a little bit of prep for. So I'm going to hop off here 5 minutes early, dive over to that one, and I will have this recording uploaded in the private school before the end of the day as well, guys. Oh, Alex, you had one question about the webhook recently. Can you either get with Jaden or Lewis on that? They should be able to walk you through that. They just did that with a couple of clients very recently. I don't know if you talked to them in the last couple of days.
I talked to him yesterday. We still don't have a payload that I can connect that webhook, and I have 2 clients that are teetering on the data between V2 and V3 because I know the data in V3 that I've seen is way better. But I'm just trying to retain them, and it's not going to happen unless I can get this webhook.
See you a little bit later.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Ray.